Okay, secondary school art folks. I'm describing and scaffolding a little bit this task 1 project for you. The first worksheet that you had on there is called Task 1, Step 1, Activity 1, Brainstorming Sources of Information about Contextual Factors. Each one of these sections, okay, has an area for what you actually need to perform on the Task 1. So community, district, school, classroom demographics, and then knowledge of the students, the whole class and individual students. This would be something that you would do when you're actually in the setting, and so we have to simulate that setting as such. Here's what I want you to do with these things. I want you to think about where you want a student teach. Perhaps you're going back to your hometown, which would help you with a little bit of pre-knowledge about some of these things because, you know, you grew up there, right? Or perhaps you want a student teach here, a smaller school, I'm not sure. But I want you to perform the research as much as you can online to discover some of these community, district, school, contextual factors, classroom demographics. You may not be able to actually talk about classroom and knowledge of students because you know you won't be in that environment, but I want you to gather as much information about whatever school that you choose and whichever district that you choose, whether it be, you know, Kansas, maybe, you know, you came from Nebraska, Texas, I don't know where you came from, or, you know, where you want to student teach, but think about that. I want you to go ahead and list across the top, you know, where you chose to do your research, okay? Because I want you to keep that consistent from this one to the making connections area, which is where you're doing a little bit more of this like independent thinking about being a teacher and how you're going to reach these students, okay? So taking some of this information, now we're in a census year, and so a lot more information is going to come out when you're student teaching, but there may be a good amount of data already out there. It may be up to 10 years old, right? And that's okay. I just want you to have gone through this process so that you feel like you're comfortable with it. The next thing is task 1, step 1, activity 1, making connections. Okay, so within this, I've made a table, and it's got community, district, and school. Each one of them has 3 areas or 3 little listings in there, A, B, C, and D. It starts with your knowledge of students, right? So something you learned about this contextual factor as a result of the research you did for your chart, okay? If you did discover something in particular about those students with regard to the demographics, you know, the ethnicities happening there, the gender, whatever's happening in terms of social economic status, what's happening in terms of whether or not that school district is well funded, does it have a good per pupil base expenditure? In other words, how much money are they getting from the state? What is their achievement like? You know, are they getting awards? Are they like a blue ribbon school, like O'Laughlin Elementary? Those are some things you can talk about with knowledge of students in the community, district, and school. You just may not be able to talk too much about the school aspect of it. Then we move into instructional tools, an instructional strategy and a learning activity that are appropriate in terms of what you know about your students, which is in this column here, okay? And the learning goal, which is going to be out here, right? So the way that works is, let's say within a particular district, you have a high incidence of, say, English language learners. That is students that do not know English, they know a different language, and so they have a pretty big language barrier, right? So if your district and your community has that as a contextual factor, you may think of an instructional tool that can help you reach them insofar that you may want to create some manipulatives that have both either Spanish and English together, or, you know, say there's another language going on, which happens quite a bit. Garden City, there's a very large Somali population. In fact, there's several different languages spoken in the Garden City High School. It's a very, very diverse demographic there. And so those teachers really have to work hard to make sure that they have all those different languages available for those students in addition to English, because they're still wanting those students to learn English, right? So you might come up with some kind of an instructional tool there, like manipulatives, again, like I said, that have both those languages in there, okay? You may want to have some charts up, that kind of thing. So what's your learning goal going to be with that? That's the last column, okay? A learning goal students must achieve that would be enhanced by the knowledge of students and the instructional tools, okay? So if I know that my students are English language learners and I want to help them be as efficient as the English speaking students, their access to another language is going to help them. But ultimately, what's my learning goal for them? Do I want them to actually start acquiring English skills? Right? So the more often that they're working with the same tools that English language learners do, the more often they're syncing up and realizing, okay, this is the word for a paintbrush in both languages, right? So perhaps my learning goal is to help them with their English skills in addition to keeping their efficiency high with regard to how they're performing along with the other English speakers. That makes sense, right? So I want you to get as far as you can with these kind of things concerning the demographics that you have collected, okay? Now this stuff is gonna be due Friday by midnight. I want you to email me. You're certainly welcome to text me, whatever that you need in terms of trying to gain more information about it if you do not understand how to perform this. Watch those 4 videos because those videos are actually, the ones that I have posted on Blackboard, those videos are actually samples of certain student teachers that have completed their task 1 assessment. And that's what you're going to end up doing. You have to develop some artifacts that you can put into that assessment so that you can get that license to teach America's next generation of artists. Yes. Okay, so in lieu of having a Zoom meeting, which we were supposed to have Thursday and nobody showed up, and I didn't schedule one for today, I'm just posting this video on there for y'all, okay? Get on, take a look at it. I'm gonna email you shortly. Miss you guys, but we'll touch base again like early next week. Cool. Otherwise, email me, text me. Love you guys. Take care. Bye.